Hello there, and welcome back to Mega Man X2. In the last episode, we got through the first 4 X-Hunter stages, and now we move on to what, if memory serves, is the last one. Yeah, again, I don't think I'll refill my sub-tanks. I'm just gonna go for it. And you might notice, this is Magna Centipede stage, which is also where the first X-Hunter cutscene took place, right here. It was actually pretty cool that one of the Maverick stages is the X-Hunter's base, and then actually comes into play here at the end, where you play through at least part of Magna Centipede stage again. And I recommend doing up here to avoid the energy. Still got hit by the lights anyway. Energy feels like a weird way to refer to that, but I guess it's technically true. Light is just electromagnetic energy. And again, this is a good spot for getting energy, just like the original run through the stage. Yeah, fill up my sub-tank. No reason to stop. And obviously all your weapon energy refills between levels, so there's no real reason to break them now. I'm not actually sure if you can get the upgrades, the heart caps, the heart tank, and the sub tank here if you didn't get them the first time. We've never not gotten them, so I'm not sure. Okay, now there is something particular about this. If I remember correctly, this is the room for it. Oh! Okay. I might have to show that after the fact then. This is where you do the glitch that I think is really cool. So I guess I'll show that after I beat the game. But even though we got all 3 parts of Zero, Sigma's got a 0 here. What's going on? Seems that you let him die and he's not too happy about that. Brutal. Then the real Zero pops in because we saved him. Now he's got the Z-Saber. So cool. Weird to think that he didn't have that in the first game. But so if you don't save Zero, then you do fight him as a boss here, which is pretty cool. He's a fairly difficult fight, not too bad. But since we did save Zero, he's going to break the ground here for us. So you don't have to play through the entirety of Magna Centipede stage, thankfully. He goes on ahead. We go down to fight Sigma. We'll see if I can pull this off with the Shoryuken. So I know, surprise, surprise, that Sigma's back. I just said that last time, but it's fine. He's got a different outfit this time around. He's also got a killer soundtrack going on. And it's quite difficult to get the Shoryuken off on his first form here. As you can see, I didn't. Usually what you want to do is charge... Oh! Ooh, that didn't work. His weakness is the Sonic Slicer. But he's immune to it at certain times, so it can be a little tricky to use it on him. Particularly use the charge shot. I'm really not doing great against this. Oh, there we go. That's a little better. Yeah, I was thinking, is this not actually his weakness? Am I misremembering? No, it is. It's easiest actually to hit him when he's doing that. Oh, and just like the first game, if your health's too low, then a sub-tank doesn't fully restore. There we go. That's his first form down. Actually much harder than his first form in the first game. Not too bad, though. But his second form is quite different than Wolf Sigma, and way cooler. It's another example of the 3D wireframe thing. It's really cool. And this form, his weakness is the Strike Chain. And I'm going to go ahead and use it against him. But now I'm going to use a sub-tank and try to get off the Shoryuken. Oh, I failed. Oh, okay. If I get low, I'll do it again, but, oh, better. Nice! He's another one that has a multi-stage, so I don't think it's possible to kill him in one go. After a bit, he'll target you like this. And then, since I have the energy for it, I'm gonna go and use a sub-tank. And he'll damage you continuously, so it's really hard to actually get him while... It's easy to hit him, if you can get it, but since he damages you continuously, it's really hard to actually pull it off. Because you gotta do the input in the time that you have iframes. But that's Virus Sigma. Pretty cool, pretty simple, much easier than Wolf Sigma. But still fun. And I believe that is the end there. But I still have a couple things actually I want to show. This defeat only makes me stronger. I wouldn't really say that here, because he's easier than the first game, but he's definitely way harder in the next game, so... how difficult the Sigma fights go, actually goes up and down quite dramatically. But so that's it for the good ending in this game. I think I'm actually going to show the bad ending too. I don't remember actually how different it is, but I will show that boss fight and the glitch. But I'll go ahead and let this finish first before I do that. I forgot how short the last level was, so I probably should have just finished this in the previous episode. But it's fine. Like I said, I was running low on time, so I didn't want to risk it. But I love this game. I think it's just slightly not as good as the first game because of how annoying it can be to strategize when you want to beat the first couple Mavericks and when you want to beat the X-Hunters. If you don't care about getting a good ending, then that's not an issue at all. At least you don't have to beat the X-Hunters with their weaknesses. We'll get to that in the next game. Or not. You'll see what I mean then. But this is fun. I always like playing Mega Man X2. It's not quite as easy to replay for the X-Hunter thing, but because I think Mega Man X1 and 4 are the ones that I play the most, and 5. I really like 5 too. Here we got the typical X philosophizing. This time not on a cliff, it seems, but still staring at the ocean or just the ground in front of him. Hard to tell with the sprites. But Zero does actually look a little different than he did in the first game. Not even just because of the Z-Saber. He's got slightly different shoulders, slightly different body shape elsewhere too, I think. And this basically becomes the standard design that he has from this point on. But there's actually theory that the reason he has the Z-Saber here is because Serges is the one that rebuilt him, or at least was working on his parts before we stole them. Because the ending to one of the Mega Man arcade games, I don't remember if it's Power Battle or Power Fighters. I think it's Power Fighters. Base's ending shows Dr. Wily talking about his ultimate creation, which is obviously Zero, spoiler alert. And in that shot, he's shown with the Z-Saber, which doesn't really make sense since he didn't have it in the first game. There's no hint that he had one prior to the events of X2. But if you believe that Serges is Dr. Wily, then it makes sense that he would have the Z-Saber in his original documents. And he was able to finish Zero more properly this time, I guess. Regardless, I'm glad he has the Saber, because it becomes a very fun gameplay mechanic later in this series. Kind of starting in the next one, but I'm not going to get too ahead of myself. It is weirdly slow to be on that rocket sled or whatever. And yet it shows power and speed stats for each of the Mavericks, but I have no idea what those are supposed to signify. And I don't know if they're actually relevant to the boss's stats in like the game's code. But like Crystal Snail's not that fast, but he doesn't seem that much slower than Flamestag or Overdart Ostrich. So I think the power and speed ratings are just sort of randomly assigned based on like their opinions on the bosses as characters. Is it 18,400? It just doesn't make much sense. Yeah, Neo Sigma, that's the name of Sigma's first form in this game. And then Zero and Mega Man X are both question marks. And you as Mega Man X. Aw, Zero! Oh, it's so cool to see him use the Z-Saber. Oh, love that music. All right, unlike the second game, or the first game, I don't think there is like a tease in this game. I think that is it. But so this is, I guess, the end of the main part of the video, and then I'll show off the bad ending and the glitch now. So go ahead and just cut to that. Then I'll do my final thoughts after the bad ending, probably. Okay. Okay, so we're back. So for this glitch, this is the room where Zero and Sigma appear. And what you want to do is line yourself up with right about there and use the Shoryuken. I think I lined that up correctly, but we'll see. Basically, you just progress through the dialogue in the cutscene like normal. But you might notice that X is not in the same position he normally would be. Usually when you step past a certain point, he steps back. But if you use the Shoryuken, he doesn't. And this has an interesting effect. For one, Zero turns around and faces nothing and ignores you. But you'll break the floor here and you'll fall in while the dialogue is still going. And I don't remember exactly how this goes, but we'll see. Okay, so I think from this point it's normal. But it's still really funny to see the text on the screen like that. Okay. But that's all there is with that glitch. Still pretty funny, I think. But so, now I'll cut to the bad ending. So, see you in a bit. Okay, once again, we're back. And I'm now in a save that has the exact same progress I had before, except it has not saved any of the Zero parts. I haven't beaten any of the 3 X Hunters. I didn't actually do this manually. I used a password generator. And actually, fun fact, something I didn't know, or at least didn't remember, this game's password system actually is capable of saving your progress through the Sigma stages. Password generators can get you a password that will start you at the final Sigma stage. That's exactly what I did here. But the game will never give you one of those passwords. I have no idea why. Maybe some difficulty in storing it, or just because they didn't think that was worth the effort. But the game will always give you a password that does not have progress to the Sigma stages, regardless of where you actually are in the game. Same with the Shoryuken. Actually, I realize I don't have the Shoryuken. I don't think that was in the password generator, so that might not be savable with password. But that's fine. There's no way I was going to use it successfully against this boss anyway, so we'll see. But okay, and enough stalling. Now, let's go. Bad ending. So Sigma shows up like normal. His dialogue's a bit different, and Zero is not black and white here. Look who I found wandering around, Mega Man. My friend here has a small problem with you. It seems that you let him die, and he's not too happy about that. Now I think it's time that he repays the favor. Oof. I think that last line gets interrupted by Zero normally, but so now we're basically actually fighting Zero. And I don't remember what his weakness is if he has one. He basically plays like we see Zero fight in the game, and somewhat similarly how he does later. Not really, although I think this crash attack he uses here is actually comparable to... Is actually comparable to an attack that he uses in the Extreme games. Damn, he blocks a lot. But even if you're getting hit quite a bit, this isn't too bad. Damn, I think it's just a matter of... God damn. He's fairly tough, actually. If you have sub-tanks like I do, he's not too bad. Oof. Totally almost died there. It's fine. It's fine. Maybe I could use the Shoryuken against him, but I really doubt it, because he doesn't jump much. You don't get very many opportunities to hit him. I think it's best to hit him before he finishes that animation. Yeah, exactly. Just like that. Just like that. Yeah, there we go. It's a bit tough, but if you have sub-weapons, it's not too bad. Oh, his song plays here. Zero. Do you remember me? Yeah, I guess so. Sorry to cause you so much trouble. Oh, that's sad. Oh, he still tries to help, but he's damaged because we had to fight him. Oh. I don't have time to put you back together again. I'll be okay. Get going, X. It's basically the same, just a bit sad, and you have to fight him first. And the Sigma fights are unaffected, but I'll still go through them, just sort of in the process of giving my thoughts. But I think this has been fun. Took notably longer than Mega Man X1 did, which makes sense. The game's a bit more difficult and a bit more complicated. But I think it's still really fun. Well, like I said, I think it's almost as good as the first game. Just that one little annoyance. And as far as my performance here has gone, it's been alright. I'm not doing great right now, but I think I've done a little better than I did in part 2 of X1, but not quite as good as I did in part 1 of X1, which makes sense, because I played through all of X1 twice before starting this game. And now I've been playing a bit of Mega Man X3 the last day or so. So like I'm more practiced now than I was. So I'm doing a bit better. Still not as good as I'd like to be doing, but it's respectable. Respectable. Oof. Although I'm doing this fight not as well as I did the first time, I don't think. Although I'm not dodging as well, because I'm not really trying to dodge that much. But this video is going up a bit later than I intended. There's a lot going on this week, and I just sort of got sidetracked. I know I'm already breaking the pattern that I had, but it's fine. But I don't know how much of the ending cutscene is different, if much at all. I'm still going to show it all, but I may not have a whole lot to talk about, since I've basically already given my thoughts on this. This is a little weird, because I am always trying to use the Shoryuken. But I guess it's nice to get a little bit of an additional challenge here at the end of the video. Although I do apologize for the repetitiveness of showing the boss fight twice. but it's fine. Suppose you might disagree, and that's fair. But I'm at least trying to blitz through this. Yeah. I think I was definitely faster than the first time. I'll be honest, it's been a few days since I recorded the beginning part of this video. But I don't know the last time I actually saw the bad ending. I know I've gotten it before because I've fought Zero before, but it's been a while. So I guess we'll see what's all different. I think this is the same dialogue. I don't quite understand. Why did Zero... Okay, that's a little different. He is last of the Doctor's creations. Ooh, I forgot about that! That's a really interesting plot detail. That is alluding to the whole fact that Zero was created by Dr. Wily. And I think this was actually the first reference to that. Unless Power Fighters came out before X2. Not sure about that. But it's still cool that line is there, because normally if you beat the X-Hunters, you won't see that, although the first time through, you're probably not going to beat all three of the X-Hunters. You probably will see that. But it's interesting nonetheless. But yeah. Next will be Mega Man X3, which is... it's not going to be quite as clean of gameplay as 1 and 2. Even with the mistakes I have made, it's not going to be as good, probably. Like, I'm pretty good at Mega Man X. But X3 can be a trial sometimes. And you'll see, I'm not gonna get too far ahead of myself, but it'll be interesting, and I'm curious how much longer it'll take me to get through X3 than it took me for the first 2 games. In fact, it'll be really interesting to see how much runtime it takes me to get through each of the games at the end. Like, if I were to guess, the later ones are probably going to be the longest. X6, X7, and X8 will probably be the longest because they have, like, either the most sort of difficult level design or are just sort of more complex. Maybe not. I imagine X3 will probably be longer than 1, 2, 4, and 5. But it'll actually be really interesting to see how it compares to the last 3. We'll see. I appreciate anyone watching, and I'm excited to move on in the series. Maybe more so to get to 4 than 3, but I'm still excited. But I'm gonna go ahead and not waste too much time by going through the entire credits again. I've said about all I intend to say, so I think that's about good to stop there. So, see you guys in the next video.